In gaming, there are many types of survival games, whether it be survival horror, apocalyptic, and progressive survival games. Progressive survival games can be an entire experience by itself though, starting from the bottom of nothing to the top of everything. If you're like me, then you're a fan of survival games, whether it be from the blocky realms of Minecraft, the oceans of Subnautica, the pixelated world of Terraria, or the untamed wilderness of Ark Survival Evolved. Each game offering a unique experience where every decision that you make leads to progression or death. My name is Solar Flare, and today I will dive deep into the retrospective of all these games and why I think they're the pinnacle of survival games. Though this is based on my opinion, this video is mainly based on entertainment, so if you do agree with my opinion on why these are the best survival games, then please enjoy the video. If not, go down to the comments of what you think are the best survival games. Now let's begin. Starting off with one of the best survival games I've ever played, Ark Survival Evolved. Developed by Studio Wildcard in 2015, it stands out as one of the most unique games in this genre. Unlike typical survival games where you're stranded on a regular island by yourself, in Ark you're stranded on a regular island by yourself, with dinosaurs. You can create your own character and choose your spawn point, which can range from easiest to hardest. However, it doesn't really matter because your game will most likely start like this. If you're lucky and don't get harassed when spawning in, start like you would with any survival game, by chopping trees and picking up a few rocks to make tools. Anything you do in Ark will give you XP, whether you're crafting, building, or hunting. Soon you'll have enough to level up and choose a stat to your liking. Health, stamina, and weight are really good choices in the beginning. When you level up, you are able to learn new items with engram points to help you survive. The higher you level, the more advanced tools and structures get, to the point where you can learn tools like a bow and trank arrows to tame your first dinosaur. Taming dinosaurs is what makes Ark unique. In other survival titles, you mostly treat the wildlife around you as either food or resources. While it is the same in Ark, here's the difference. Let's say you wanted to travel faster. In other games, you might get yourself a horse or walk on foot. But in Ark, you have that unique ability to tame a flyer like a pteranodon, for example, which allows you to easily bypass any potential danger on the ground, and get from point A to point B much faster. Besides the travel, tames can also be used for defense or offense against other creatures around you, but especially for resource gathering. That's the thing with Ark, it dwells more into the wildlife around you. Though of course if other games did or have done this, it probably wouldn't be that interesting, since the animals in those games are just regular modern creatures. But with dinosaurs, now that's a whole different level. Besides the use of trank arrows and tranquilizer darts, blunt objects like a wooden bat or your fist can be used to knock out creatures. Once knocked out, a creature needs to be kept asleep in order to tame it, so feeding it narcoberries or narcotics will help. You simply need to wait until its hunger bar has gone down a significant amount. Once it has decreased enough, you can start the taming process by putting meat or berries in its inventory. The creature will then start eating on its own, filling the taming bar and waking up at 100%. After that, the dinosaur is yours to ride and control. There are also certain creatures that don't need to be knocked out and can just be fed passively, their preferred food. Now there are multiple different maps that you can choose to play Ark on, some being made by Wildcard and even the community. Each map can have its own features to help or make it more difficult to survive in, with each map being unique in itself. For example, the story maps contain Scorched Earth where you survive in a harsh desert, or Aberration, a broken Ark where you survive in a vast cave system with no flyers. Even the community maps like Valguero or Crystal Isles can each have a different unique survival experience. Whichever map you decide to play, further into it you will encounter more and aggressive creatures such as Argies, Rexes, and more, along with rare resources like metal which can be found more easily, of course. Biomes also exist containing specific resources or dinos. If you go farther into the map though, you will encounter bigger and more dangerous creatures, like full-on titans like the Titanosaur or Giganotosaurus, one of the most powerful creatures on the Ark, killing everything in its path and can go into a rage mode of anger, which makes it even more powerful. And yet with enough train darts and narcotics to keep it asleep, it can be tamed. Initially, Gigas have way more health and damage in the wild, but are completely nerfed when tamed to keep the game balanced. Though the health is nerfed, it's still one of the most deadly creatures on the Ark. Besides the more aggressive creatures you find into the map, there are also caves all around the map you play on, to explore to find drops with good gear and artifacts that will be used later. Though you will have to fight through these caves to get the loot and eventually the artifact at the end of it. Initially, while exploring the entirety map on specific story maps made by Wildcard, like from the island all the way to Genesis 2, you can find explorer notes that will give you, and if you're riding a dino, XP. These notes are the way Ark's lore is told, being from many different characters' POV, main characters being Helena Walker, Sir Edmund Walker, and Mei Yin. With other future main characters like Santiago aka Vin Diesel, notes are only present on the story maps of Ark, continuing the story of the characters and the game itself throughout the story maps. Now I'm just gonna mention it here real quick, but Ark Ascended and Evolved are basically the same game. Ascended is just Ark with better graphics. I'm talking about Ark in general, so there will be some Ascended clips here and there. There are some features that I will talk about that are exclusive or were changed for Ark Ascended. But anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning this is so I can talk about the creativity of building. In Evolved, building was relatively simple, but also really frustrating. As you continue to level up, you unlock newer structures going from thatch, wood, stone, and so on. Most bases just being boxes, while others having a nice touch to it. With time though, there would be creative minds to go beyond the simplicity and make unique structures and bases overall. In Ark Ascended, Wildcard decided to go above and beyond and make building even more creative, with customizable structures and a certain group of structures being able to just be placed down differently. Like you would be able to craft the wall, but can change it into a door frame, for example. Since Ascended came out though, the servers I play on have some really creative looking bases, with me also liking a nice base design. So Ark is really good when it comes to building and creativity itself. Now of course you don't have to play Ark by yourself, you have the option to play with your friends, which is probably the best way you should experience Ark. Not only will you have a tribe to enjoy and complete the game with, you can also have some really funny moments. I personally always been a solo player because I don't have friends. Well, friends that are actually good at the game and don't need me to hold their hand the whole time while playing. Now there are 3 ways to play Ark: in a single player world by yourself, or in a PvE or PvP server. Single player is self-explanatory, but PvP can be the most fun thing ever and the most stressful thing ever. In PvP, not only are you against nature, but you are also against other players, having the ability to kill, raid, and even do slave. I've never enjoyed PvP since it's already too much commitment for me to log onto my PvE servers so it doesn't start auto-decaying, which is annoying enough. I have played it though with a decent tribe too, and the raids were actually really fun, though of course it wasn't fun to get raided yourself. But if you do seem like the type to enjoy a good challenge while competing with other players, then go right ahead. PvE on the other hand is experiencing Ark without the threat of other players. It's only you against the game. And if you join a server, you can join a tribe or just trade with the people on the servers. Though of course there's still assholes sometimes on PvE, like kiters and hole robbers if you're naive enough to let someone join your tribe, where they then take all your resources from the inside and leave the tribe. Other than that, Ark PvE is known to have a nice community in general. So throughout the game you probably would have made a big base and tamed every creature you wanted, so what now? Well of course Ark isn't just a game where you survive until you have everything you could have wanted. Some actually stop at that point though, due to not being able to, or just not understanding the concept of boss fights. You've probably noticed the 3 giant floating structures around the map. Well, these are the obelisks, devices that can be used to transport you to these boss fights, and also be used to transfer to other servers. These boss fights go from Gamma to Alpha, easiest to hardest. Fighting these bosses require an army of dinos, ideally consisting of 19 mutated Rexes with high health and really high melee, and a UT to courage roar them to deal even more damage. Mutated creatures are usually made by constantly breeding Rex pairs for mutations in their preferred stats. After beating these boss fights, you are then rewarded with Techgrams, Tech, the final tier of the game, it being advanced technology that allows you to fly, run super fast, and so on. These new structures and weapons are made with Element, the second reward you get from said boss fights. Boss hits are also rewarded, but not just to show off. In some cases, they are the keys to the final tests of Ark, that being the Tech Cave, like on the island for example. Now equipped with advanced technology and an army, you can make your way through the Tech Cave and fight the final boss, the Overseer. or depending on most other maps, just do the regular boss fights and then ascend. On the island though, after the battle with the Overseer, once defeated, you finally beat the game. Well, actually no, because after ascending you are then taken to the next story arc in the game. Now all the story arcs have an ascension and ending. Maps created by the community just have boss fights just so you can learn tech and be better than everyone else. But there's something special about the story maps of Ark. Ascending to the next story map of Ark to do all that you accomplished like on the previous one, taming the creatures you want, making your base, building up from nothing to something, to then end with you continuing on the next part of the game through hard work and patience, in a new but unique environment compared to the previous one. This is what I think gives Ark a lot of replayability. Yes, you are taming the same creatures for the same purpose. Yes, you are gathering the same resources for the same structure, but in a different or unique way. Which is why I think I keep playing Ark even to this day, instead of surviving on another same old island. New and different kinds of maps have something that will drag you into them just to start the process all over again just for that new item or creature, or even the map you never got to experience when it first released. Which is probably the reason Ark is one of my most played games, with over 2,000 hours on Evolved and nearly 500 on Ascended. Before any of these titles, there weren't many games in the survival genre, of course for the exception of Minecraft, so it was quite rare to actually find a decent survival game that wasn't just a boring, buggy mess. Ark completely changed to that for me though. It became one of the most popular survival games to date with its take on survival, and even better, allowing you to tame and ride dinosaurs in a unique way. So for someone like me, who loves the survival genre and dinosaurs, this game was a complete goldmine for me when I discovered it in 2017. Just because I know how fun the game can be with different maps and features to help you survive and complete Ark as a whole. With its amazing take on survival and enjoyment of the game itself, Ark earns its place on this list as one of the pinnacle of survival games. Subnautica completely flips the usual formula for a survival game. Instead of the usual punch a tree and get some stone, it's just get some stone. Okay, it still might be similar, but again, Subnautica shines because of how unique its take on survival is. Stranded on an alien planet with nothing but ocean around you, along with the looming wreckage of the giant ship you once worked on, the Aurora, off in the distance. You play as Riley Robinson, the non-essential systems maintenance chief, sole survivor of the crash. Though others did manage to reach the escape pods from the Aurora, their outcomes being varied. While Riley, being you, successfully reaches the escape pod and is knocked unconscious by a loose panel during descent to the planet. You then awake still in your pod, but it's on fire. After quickly putting out the flames, you access your PDA, now being in survival mode. After taking a look outside your pod, the depth of your situation truly sets in. Welcome to planet 454-6B. Now along with the escape pod that you landed with comes a fabricator, which is your main crafting station, along with a radio and an automatic medkit fabricator. After getting your feet wet, you start by breaking limestone rocks or titanium or copper, while also picking a couple of the plants around you. Use these materials to make scuba tank flippers and your first tool. The scanner will be your lifeline to progress throughout the entire game, scanning fragments of broken tools and machines to learn the blueprint to make the tools that you scan to help you survive and progress throughout the game. In the beginning, the Sea Glide will be your main transportation, giving you a speed boost while swimming. Use it to scan the fragments around the safe shallows and kelp forests. Once you have enough fragments for a vehicle like the Sea Moth, you can freely explore without the threat of running out of oxygen. During your exploration, you'll come across various biomes with specific materials that can be used to make modules or new vehicles like the Cyclops. Exploration in Subnautica is relatively simple compared to the other games on this list, but then again, it isn't. Subnautica has a whopping 15 biomes to explore, with different resources to help you make or find new blueprints, like from the wreckage of the Aurora. While trying to survive in this underwater world, your radio in your escape pod gives you updates on possible rescue to come and pick you up, while also letting you know of other escape pods' whereabouts. Though every time you encounter an escape pod, there aren't any survivors, just an audio log on what happened to them along with a helpful blueprint, reinforcing the fact that you're the only survivor of the Aurora. The Aurora itself can also be explored. After the drive core explodes, you have the option to go into the Aurora to fix it and stop the radiation from leaking to the area around you, avoiding an extinction event in the process. Not to also mention the amount of fragments and cool items you can find in it. A rocket blueprint is also found in the captain's quarters, which is going to be your ticket off this planet. Later on in the game, the Sunbeam will contact you via radio and tell you that they're on the way to help, and give you coordinates to pick you up on an island. The island isn't the only shocking thing to see, but one of the main alien facilities is there, with what looks to be a cannon. Other alien structures like this can also be found throughout the map. Most just have artifacts and ion cubes that can be used to make your tech better than it already is. Though spoiler alert, the main purpose of most of these facilities was to look and research for a cure of the virus that has ravaged the planet, sending it into a quarantine, being the reason why the Aurora shut down in the first place, as it was flying too close to the planet. No one can enter or leave the planet's atmosphere. After exploring the facility and a machine taking your blood, it speaks in an unknown alien language that is mostly translated by your PDA, which is infected individuals cannot disable the gun. By then the Sunbeam arrives and is then shot down by the cannon. Continuing to leave you stranded on this unknown world. Now, it's no secret that Subnautica isn't just a survival game, with most players considering it a horror game, based on the loneliness and eeriness of the deep ocean around you. Most biomes in Subnautica are close to the surface, but the important ones are actually way deeper into the depths. Rare resources like nickel being found in the Lost River, and organic materials like gel sacks found in the blood kelp can be found in these biomes. Not only will you find the materials needed, but also the creatures that reside there. Now just for a second, let's delve into why some people think Subnautica is a horror game. Thalassophobia is defined as the fear of large bodies or water, like lakes and oceans. People experience this fear due to the unknown, like staring down into a deep lake or ocean and realizing how it goes so deep you can't even see the bottom. Not only are people with thalassophobia scared of the ocean, but they are afraid of what's in it. Quite common among the players of this game. As you explore in your Seamoth, you probably encounter the fauna of this planet. Though I'm not talking about the common peeper, I mean the leviathans that are the reason some people consider Subnautica a horror game. Reapers are the most common leviathans found, not to mention the scariest, being able to grab your Seamoth and swallow you whole. They aren't the only ones though, those leviathans being found within the darker biomes like the Blood Kelp or the Lost River. And one of the most dangerous, the Sea Dragon, being in the lava zone, living up to its name and being able to breathe fire. Thalassophobia is really explored in one small element though. Since the ocean looks like it can go on forever, players often go explore a bit too far near the boundaries of the map, or accidentally get lost looking for a specific wreckage like I did when first playing this game. To counter this, the devs of Subnautica have made one of the scariest ways to prevent the player from venturing too far out, with the Void. A dark, empty abyss that extends far deeper than the lava zone. The entire map is surrounded by a crater that leads to the Void. Those who approach the Void are warned by their PDA if it's worth it, and indicating that they do not belong in that area. Brave explorers who venture out into the Void encounter massive ghost leviathans that attack their vehicles, and then them. Even if you manage to avoid the ghost leviathans, the Void seems to continue endlessly, making it clear that it's not meant to be explored. The only other encounters with ghost leviathans are in the Lost River or the Blood Kelp zone, so most people don't expect to encounter them so close to the surface. This alone is enough to show that the ocean of Subnautica can be a terrifying place. Moving on from the horror aspect of Subnautica, building is relatively simple and futuristic. One of the tools that you can craft will be the Habitat Builder, taking resources from the environment to make your very own underwater base, or on an island, if you choose. Most items that you will build for your habitat will need fragments commonly located in pieces of the Aurora or in other biomes. Building in Subnautica is much simpler compared to other games, since you can connect whatever you're building automatically together like puzzle pieces. Due to this feature, people in the community have made the craziest bases, even bases going from the safe shallows all the way to the lava zone. Now, it's pretty obvious that rescue is not coming. No other choice but to go deeper into the ocean to get the resources you need to make that rocket and get off the planet. However, the deeper you go, the more dangerous it gets, encountering more leviathans and temperature changes closer you get to the lava zone, where one last alien facility lies, guarded by 2 sea dragons. Inside though is one last leviathan, not one that wants to eat or hurt you, but one that just wants to talk to you.
Are you here to play? Others came here once. They built these walls. They played alone. They bored me. Now they're gone. And instead, we have you. We are curious whether you swim with the current or fight against it, as they did.
This is the Sea Emperor, one of the biggest leviathans in the game, and one of the last of its kind. A quick summary on the rest of the lore. Oh, and spoilers if you don't want the rest of the game spoiled for you, since you should experience it for yourself. The precursors were the aliens that made these facilities, and before they were wiped out but by the plague ravaging the planet, aka Kara, they eventually narrowed down the cure to the Sea Emperor. They tried to force the Sea Emperor to give them the cure, but she never complied. The precursors all soon went extinct and it was left to rot in its containment. Now, after all this time, you eventually land on the planet, and throughout the game she tries to contact you telepathically to reach her. Now that you made it down to the facility that she's being held in, you're given a blueprint called hatching enzymes. Hatching her eggs is the cure to curing the planet, because the hatchlings will release the chemical, enzyme 42, into the water. Contact with enzyme 42 will cure you of Kara, and the hatchlings will now leave via teleporter into the main ocean to spread the cure around the planet. After that, go back to the island with the main facility and the cannon, once cured, to allow you to disable it. Go inside and the machine will take your blood once more, verifying that you are now cured and that the planet is no longer on quarantine, allowing you to freely leave with the rocket you eventually build, completing the game. Subnautica also earned its place on this list with its unique take on survival. You're not just surviving on land, but in a place where there's little to no land at all, only ocean, making it stand out completely as a survival game, with its horror along with it. Also the fact that it's not just a regular ocean from Earth, but an alien one of creatures thought to not exist, like the Leviathans. Though besides that, the gameplay is outstanding. I never had nothing to do when playing this game. I was always trying to craft something I needed or just wanted, but always needed a certain resource. Not only can you spend this time just making tools for your survival and progression, but just exploring in general, either to find and collect every cuttlefish, or to explore the story of the Degassi bases, survivors who crashed here before the Aurora. The story of curing the planet, also mostly being the main drive to the story, perfectly fits in, besides just trying to survive the ocean and leave the planet. Other than that, Subnautica also earns its place in this list as one of the pinnacle of survival games. Terraria is an advanced 2D survival game that was released in May 2011 by Relogic, teeming with progression and challenges to overcome the evils that corrupt the world. Terraria was actually one of the earliest survival games right next to Minecraft. For some reason though, most people tend to dislike Terraria, either by just considering it 2D Minecraft, even though both games have nothing against each other. Maybe it's just the fact that they find it boring since they don't know what to do, even though there's a literal guide that can tell you what to do. Nevertheless, despite these criticisms, Terraria remains a solid game. Now let's dive into the world of Terraria. Before diving in though, you need to make a character and a world, being able to choose its size and world evil, the Corruption or Crimson. The Corruption or Crimson is an evil biome that slowly spreads throughout the world, containing caves with strange looking orbs that give unique weapons and trigger world events, with the world difficulty ranging from Journey, Normal, Expert, and Master. Journey is basically creative mode, where you have the option to modify literally everything. Normal being, well, normal. Expert is more difficult than normal and has exclusive items. And finally Master, an even harder version of Expert with even more exclusive items. Once the world is generated, you start not just by yourself, but with a guide. The guide is meant to give advice on what you should do while also telling you what you can craft with certain items and materials. Not only that, but you also start with a short sword, pickaxe, and axe. So chop down some trees and make a house with a chair, torch, and table for now, to keep the guide safe. Exploration is key to progression right now. With it, it can reward you with better weapons and gear by looking just for chests out in the world. The world offers various biomes such as the tundra, desert, corruption, or crimson of course, and eventually the ocean. Usually before you reach the ocean, you come upon a dungeon with a strange old man, warning you not to go down without fighting his master, though you still can go down into the dungeon if you want to. Exploring the caves of Terraria can be most rewarding. Since everything is 2D, you are able to see everything around you. Going deeper will lead you to abandoned cabins containing loot that can improve your mobility, like a magic mirror to return you to spawn, or Hermes boots to run faster. Also looking for hard crystals throughout the caves to boost your health, and strong ores like gold should also be at the top of your to-do list. Armor and health are especially crucial for what you will face off against eventually. Now the guide isn't the only NPC in the game. Terraria contains 28 NPCs in total, willing to sell or modify gear and tools to your liking. NPCs are earned by defeating a boss or just finding them out in the world. For NPCs to move in, you must of course have a house consisting of a table, chair, light source, and a wall. Basic NPCs such as a nurse, merchant, and gunsmith are triggered to spawn when you obtain a certain item. For example, using a heart crystal triggers a nurse to spawn. Having 50 silver coins triggers the merchant to spawn, and finding a gun that requires ammo triggers the gunsmith to spawn. This pattern continues with the rest of the NPCs and their unique actions. Out of all the games in this list, Terraria has one of the most creative building capabilities. Well, I wouldn't say better than Minecraft, but right next to it. Though Terraria sort of has an upper hand due to the vast amount of blocks that exist in the game, 192 to be exact. Not only that, but there is an NPC called the Painter who sells different kinds of paint and wallpaper. Not only do you have so many block types, but you have a whole gallery of customization. This can lead to amazing creations, and since it's all 2D, it's easier to build than it is in 3D. There's even a whole toolset dedicated to building called the Hand of Creation. Terraria has a lot of weapons and armor, and while they all have the same purpose, they are actually separated into 4 different types of classes. Melee is all about close quarters and high damage and high defense. Ranger is about fighting from afar while having enough defense to survive incoming attacks. Magic, which is one of the most overpowered classes but relies on you to cast spells and have mana. And the final being Summoner, in which you are able to summon minions to fight for you, with Summoner armor allowing you to summon even more minions to deal more damage. One of the weakest classes, but it does have its uses. Within the world, you will find a variety of these weapons, and you yourself can decide whether to stick with one class or just be like me and use all of them. Whatever you choose is going to be what you fight the bosses and enemies of Terraria with. Every Terraria world comes with a pre-built hard mode. This means that the world is easier and certain enemies and events don't exist yet. After beating the final boss of pre-hard mode, that being the wall of flesh, the world would now be set into hard mode. For now though, in pre-hard mode, the bosses you will face in the beginning will be the Eye of Cthulhu, King Slime, Eater of Worlds or Brain of Cthulhu, Queen Bee, Skeletron, and finally the wall of flesh itself. The difficulty you have your world set in will also determine special features and drops. For example, on expert mode you get treasure bags once the boss is defeated, and an expert item representing that boss, like the Shield of Cthulhu, allowing you to dash forward like the boss. And in Master Mode, you're able to get special trophies called relics to show off. Normally bosses drop new weapons, materials, and sometimes armor, if you're lucky. This continues on in Hard Mode, but with a more unique variety of drops. Now for a second, I want to talk about one thing that Terraria does extremely well, and that is its progression system. In pre-hard mode, you can spend all your time gathering and fighting for better gear to the point you can take down bosses that cause you trouble in the beginning with little to no effort. But once hard mode is active, you are then immediately humbled and back to square one, being weak and barely being able to fight a regular mob. You must get stronger once again to stand a chance in this cruel world. With this, it allows you to get even stronger than you were before hard mode, which is just the push that helps you to continue on playing, to find stronger armor to withstand attacks and looting weapons that finally give you a chance to defend yourself. The first set of hard mode bosses are the mechanical bosses. The Destroyer, Twins, and Skeletron Prime are mechanized versions of pre-hard mode bosses. Defeating all the mechs rewards hollowed bars, souls of might, sight, and fright. They're also parts of a mechanized minecart to help you traverse. Though with the mechanical bosses gone, the jungle will grow restless, now producing life fruit to increase your health further and Plantera's bulb. Continuing on with Plantera, which drops the jungle key, finally allowing you to explore the impenetrable jungle temple where a humanoid species of lizard and one of the easiest bosses, Golem, await. After Golem, new world events are unlocked like the Pumpkin and Frost Moon. The solar tablets found in the temple are able to summon a solar eclipse, where iconic movie monsters invade. If you're exploring in deep space while flying, you can discover a Martian probe. Allowing it to scan you will trigger a Martian invasion, or something as simple as a pirate invasion. All these events have the best weapons in the game, even cool mounts like the broomstick or UFO, allowing infinite flight, and yet after all these events there's still one boss that awaits to trigger the endgame of Terraria. Once Golem is defeated, a group of lunatic cultists will be at the dungeon, praying to a tablet. Upon killing them, their leader will show himself and eventually begin a fight. Upon defeat, celestial creatures will invade all around the world, each with a pillar. Each pillar represents the classes of the game, Melee being Solar, Vortex being Ranger, Nebula being Magic, and Summoner being Stardust. Taking out 100 enemies will take down the pillar's shield, where it can then be destroyed and looted for its fragments. The Solar Manipulator dropped from the cultists can be used to turn said fragments into endgame weapons and armor. Once all 4 pillars are gone, the world returns to normal, but as seconds pass, impending doom approaches, and the world fades into silence. and in an instant the final boss, the Moon Lord, is summoned. To defeat him, the eyes in his hands and forehead must be destroyed. Though with each eye destroyed, his attacks get more frequent and deadly. Though once all the eyes are gone, his final weak spot is opened, that being his heart. Target the heart, and once destroyed, the Moon Lord is defeated. Loot drops by the Moon Lord will be the most powerful endgame gear, but the main item he drops is Luminite. When combined with the fragments of the pillars, allows you to finally craft the endgame armor of whatever fragment you combine it with. After that, the game is completed. If you want, you can redo the event with the cultists again, or if you just want to fight the Moon Lord, you can just use the Celestial Sigil. Terraria is especially in this list as one of the pinnacle survival games. Ernie is placed on this list due to its unique progression system, which includes diverse biomes, challenging bosses, and extensive crafting options that offers players a constantly evolving experience. The game, also being a sandbox, allows for endless possibilities, fostering creativity and engagement. With its deep gameplay mechanics and immersive world, and not to mention iconic soundtrack, Terraria continues to captivate players and solidify its status as one of the pinnacle of survival games. For the final game, let's go back to the very beginning, to where not only the best survival game ever was made, but probably one of the best games of all time. Let's talk about Minecraft. Created by Notch in May 2009 and fully released in November 18, 2011, with the iconic soundtrack being made by C418. Minecraft would be the role model for all survival games to come, and there is good reason for that. Having sold almost 300 million copies, Minecraft is exactly what every survival game would look up to. Even if the mechanics are so simple, make a world, then start by punching a tree, make a crafting table, mine stone, iron, and build a house. It's so simple, yet at the same time a masterpiece. Not only do you mine for better materials, but you also have the ability to build whatever you want. Minecraft does have its progression system, consisting of getting diamonds or netherite, then enchanting your tools and armor to become stronger to fight bosses like the Wither and Ender Dragon. But along the way, you can build and do whatever you want. Minecraft even has a creative mode dedicated to just building, whether it's to just build or help you in getting materials. Minecraft was mainly meant to be a sandbox game, where you can let your creativity and imagination flow. The whole point was for the players to have creative freedom to do whatever they wanted. After spawning in, most usually look around the surroundings to see if the world they made is to their liking. When it is, once tools and food are acquired, you have the option to build a house or explore this new world. Dive into a giant cave system to look for diamonds? Stumbling upon mining shafts and bigger caves where the possibilities of more ores increase? Constantly keeping you hooked on the idea of what you could find down there. Going so deep down until you literally hit bedrock and realize you are now lost and have to dig back up and hope that there isn't any gravel waiting to suffocate you. Besides the iconic caves, there is more to be discovered on the surface of the world. Villages containing food and sometimes valuable equipment if a blacksmith is present, along with their villagers, of course, willing to trade with you with items related to their profession. The complete opposite of villagers called illagers, setting up outposts nearby to villages to plan a raid on them, which only you can defend. Going to their main base of operations, a giant woodland mansion in the dark forest biome, finding that some illagers have the ability to use magic and create items that cheat death itself. Or how about exploring a new dimension entirely, a dimension called the Nether. A hellish landscape so hot that water immediately evaporates when placed. Having vast lava lakes, abandoned nether fortresses containing the valuable blaze rods, and the bastions housing the gold hoarding piglins. Though the most valuable resource in the nether being ancient debris. When combined with gold, it can be turned into netherite. Yet you need the diamond tools and armor so you can combine and convert the netherite into your diamond tools. So what will you use your shiny new weapons and armor on? You can tackle the already mentioned illagers, mobs, or maybe something in the caves where fighting isn't a possibility. Back in the deep darker caves still lie an ancient city covered in skulk, an unknown pathogen that is all connected to each other. Valuable loot is waiting in the chests across the city, though so is sound-sensitive Skulk that triggers a piece of Skulk called the Shrieker. The Shrieker alerts a mob called the Warden. The Warden is beyond fighting, even with netherite, causing your whole screen to be black, almost making you as blind as the Warden itself, locating you by sound and or any sound you make near the sound-sensitive Skulk, traversing your way through the city on already placed wool that was used by the city's previous inhabitants, who tried to coexist with the Skulk. After your newly acquired loot, maybe it's time to explore one last dimension housing the end of the game. To get to this dimension, Ender Pearls from Endermen and Blaze Powder from Blazes must be combined to create Eyes of Ender, which can be used to locate an abandoned stronghold with the unfinished portal. Use the rest of the eyes and go into a one-way trip to the end, where a final boss awaits called the Ender Dragon. Taking out the towers that heal it and slashes from a good sword will put an end to the dragon, where it then explodes and causes it to rain XP, leaving an egg and a portal back to the overworld, but also opening a new portal that takes you to a different part of the end, where abandoned end cities contain endgame loot and a flying ship with a dragon head that has one of the most sought out items, the Elytra. Wings that allow you to fly. When combined with rockets, it's infinite flight. After, take the portal back to the overworld and the game is completed. However, you do not have to take on the world of Minecraft by yourself. Minecraft's multiplayer is a big part of what makes the game so special. Whether you're teaming up with friends to build massive structures, competing in minigames on Hypixel, or surviving together in a survival world, the shared experiences in multiplayer take Minecraft to a whole new level. It's a game that's better when shared, and that's a huge reason why it's one of the best multiplayer experiences out there. But most of these experiences were endured in most players' childhood, giving one of Minecraft's most special features, nostalgia. Minecraft's sense of nostalgia is one of the most powerful aspects of the game. For many, it's not just a game, but a time capsule of memories. Late nights building with friends, the thrill of discovering your first diamond, or the simple joy of crafting your own world block by block. As you revisit old worlds or hear that familiar soundtrack, you're transported back to those early days of exploration. The beauty of Minecraft is that it evolves with you, yet always stays the same at its core, offering a comforting blend of familiarity and endless possibilities. This connection to your past, paired with its timeless appeal, makes Minecraft more than just a game, it's a piece of history. Minecraft is special because it lets players create their own adventures in a way that few other games can match. Unlike Ark, Subnautica, or Terraria, Minecraft's open-ended world and simple mechanics make it so easy for anyone to pick up, yet deep enough to keep players engaged for maybe even years. The endless possibilities for building, exploring, and surviving, combined with a passionate community, make Minecraft a game that's not just played, but lived. It's a game that offers something for everyone, and that's what makes it into this list as one of the pinnacle of survival games. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more videos like this in the future, then make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments, since I do plan on making more videos like this, but with other types of games. Well, thank you for watching, my name is Solar Flare, and I'll see you guys next time.